Hey, you're currently unemployed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Former JFD.
Yeah, former.
Boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the free range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I am, drum roll, Clay Edwards, here live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios on a Monday morning here in the dirty, dirty South. Let's see. I get this intro mixed up sometimes because I want to mix it up sometimes. I get bored saying the same thing like an NPC bot consistently over and over. Anyway, we are live on 103.9 FM WYAB, the big stick, and it's about to get a whole lot bigger as we get ready to go up to 50,000 rock and roll watts around here, which will make us the biggest single stick, that's an antenna, talk radio station in the state of Mississippi, or the biggest single non-music station in the state of Mississippi, pumping all my incendiary content to every single ear within that 50,000 watts. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to make a bunch of new anger addicts angry and to wake up a whole new crew of people who are ready to get into the fight. And look, man, after watching that Charlie Kirk stuff yesterday, I streamed the entire event live and gave my commentary throughout the whole thing and chatted back and forth with a bunch of fellow anger addicts in the comments section. The first hour and 20 minutes with me just ranting and raving about everything. And then about an hour and 20 minutes into it, the memorial actually started beyond them singing and stuff on stage. So many great speakers yesterday. What an amazing event, and to have been put together and choreographed and organized and just the logistics of all that, to put an event like that together in just not even 10 days, and they basically did it in a week, if not less, from the time they decided to do it to getting it done. If you've ever done production or events or anything like that, you can't put a bake sale together. You can't put a garage sale together in that short a time, and they put together an event of that magnitude in that short of a time with that production and it was just really, really just, I don't care what your politics are, just the fact that they were able to pull that off in that short of a time with the president and everybody else coming, the security that goes into that, just the logistics. It was really phenomenal to watch. And then, of course, the speakers and all just all hit it out of the park. And the only thing I disagree with was with his widow, Erica. I do not agree. I'm not going to pray for my enemies, and I'm definitely not ready to forgive the killer of Charlie Kirk. I mean, of course, it's not my position to, but we're past that phase. I think praying for our enemies hasn't done us any good. Praying for our enemies has continued to allow our enemies to gain ground on us and to get the best of us consistently. We're past the point of praying for our enemies. Now it's time to give our enemies their comeuppance. Make of that what you will. But with that said, I really enjoyed the whole event yesterday. It got me fired back up. It was what a great revival it was. I heard that word used a lot, and that was the vibe I got. It was a true revival, and hopefully y'all watched it. If not, go back and watch it, whether you watch my stream or somebody else's, or just go back and watch the entire thing in its original entirety. But I do think events like that are best to watch as a group and best to interact with people, local folks preferably. Anyway, was there anything else I wanted to mention before we get to our guest here? Oh, yeah, concerning that. Guys, you need to be acting like you need the next 2.5, 3 years. You need to be acting like you know Donald Trump, or who, not Donald Trump, but you know that the Democrats are going to win the election. You don't need to be pansy-footing around thinking that, oh man, we're in the captain's chair. It's just line them up, knock them down. It's going to be 8 years of J.D. Vance. Oh, it's about to be good times riding high on the hog. If you think for 1 second, as down as the Democrats are, that they ain't going to figure out any way they possibly can to lie, cheat, and steal this upcoming election, you have lost your minds. You need to be preparing for war. You need to be in that gym every day. You need to be in the book every day. You need to be reading books every day. You need to be making yourself smarter, stronger, faster, everything you can, and prepare for war. And you need to do that. One of the main things, I'm talking about older fellas out there, 35 and older, you need to start with getting your testosterone levels checked. And yeah, this is an ad read, but I'm being dead serious. That's what I'm doing every day. I am preparing for war, preparing for blood in the streets. You need to be doing the same. Start today by getting your free testosterone check. Text Clay to 601-800-5130. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your family. Do it for your kids. Do it for your wife. Girlfriend, whatever. I ain't judging. Boyfriend, hell, whatever. We're going to need y'all too. We're going to need you in our foxhole. Not that foxhole. But we're going to need you in our foxhole too. So go get your damn levels checked out at Men's Health in Mississippi and get ready for the fight. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to America. This country's done a lot for you. It's time for you to stand up and do something for it. Unless you've already served, and I'm not talking to you. But you need to go get your levels checked too, military. All right, 601-800-5130, text Clay. Eric Newman, my old friend here, former Jackson fireman, who has had a lot of drama with him, man. They've let him go after years and years on the force, and he's ready to air his grievances a bit and to kind of explain what happened, how we got to this point. He's got a lawsuit against the city, so we're going to have to tiptoe around some things to not jeopardize that lawsuit or give them any ammunition against him. So with that said, Eric, tell people about yourself a little bit. Tell people kind of the short version. Tell people where you're at, and then it'll like, you've seen those movies where you wake up, where the beginning of the movie, it's like remember Hangover?
Right.
And at the beginning, get in front of the mic, or pull the mic to you.
There we are.
At Hangover, the beginning of the Hangover is them waking up in the hotel and trying to figure out where everybody's at, and it's like, how did we get here?
Right.
And then they go back to the beginning and tell you how they got there. Let's do that. Tell people where you're at, and then let's start back at the beginning where it all started going wrong and how we got to where we're at.
All right. So, been on the former fireman with Jackson, coming up 7 years, and I'm recently terminated, and it's just a snowballing effect from reporting a lot of corruption within, and 7 stellar years with the department, awards with the mayor, city council, and no major rule breaks, no infractions, had a clean personnel file, and then we got new leadership with the new mayor, and turned around, we got a new command staff on the fire department, and their first 60 days, they canned me.
Really? So it all happened that fast?
That fast.
Now, I mean, I knew you had something, this has been going on for a while.
Right.
But it was the news, so I wasn't aware of that because I kind of held off talking to you to find out the details so we got here on the studio. So it was the new regime that let you go.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the previous command staff. It was the one we have in there now. So
I'm curious. I know that a lot of times new police chiefs will make change. Not police chiefs, the new mayors will make changes with the police chief. I thought I guess I always just assumed that the fire was a little impervious to that, and they wouldn't come in and make sweeping changes at the fire department. But interesting that they did.
Yeah,
and maybe that's true. Maybe they always do. It's not as publicized as the police chief.
Yeah, typically it'll happen. You'll see it with new mayors, possibly a new fire chief. Unless you have the former mayor, the incumbent wins, then that fire chief or police chief or department heads may not change.
Yeah.
Just because, that regime's still in power. And then you fast forward to a new one, and then it's Russian roulette with department heads. It's just plugging them in as they deem fit. And the city of Jackson has, civil service rules in place to
protection.
It's certain department head jobs you have to, either have a degree or possess some kind of qualifications to be in that thing. But fire chief and police chief is one of those things where it's not so much degree based. It's just who you can plug in.
Sure. So let's circle back. Let's get back to the beginning of this because they didn't just fire you for no reason as far as they're concerned.
Right.
So you've been kind of a whistleblower of sorts about some things that have been going on for a while. You and I have talked about them, and we go way back. Let's go back. Let's talk about some of the things that you first started seeing that you brought to the previous regime's attention or had to report or whatever. Like, what are and this ain't about. I want to make people clear. This ain't about money with Eric. Eric, if he never fights another fire, he's going to be all right. I mean, this ain't about money with Eric. He's doing this because it's the right thing to do. Like most whistleblowers, ironically. Most of them aren't doing it because they see a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if they can whistle blow their way into getting fired and being able to get a settlement. Like one particular whistleblower here locally that apparently looks like a Foot Locker employee reject. But that's neither here nor there. Eric, tell people some of the things that you first started noticing that you brought to their attention. Like, why would they want to fire you? Why would they want to shut you up?
Well, so specifically now with the stuff that's been reported, I believe that it's probably a shout out to Shad White's office, but they're going to have eventually all of this stuff will come to light, and it'll be on the books. It'll be on the public record. All my documents and grievances I filed with the city thus far, I've requested to be entered into the city's, formal record. And but the first thing with this new command staff, it was a history of. So with the new command staff, there was a history there between me and either the command staff, members of the command staff. Mm-hmm. So as we get there, I took a lot of the alarming details. Specifically, there was a Facebook post, and there was credible threats, harm to myself. So I took that and I took it to city council because there is no chain of command when it comes to threats of harm. So I took that to the city council, and from there, it just escalated. They were like, hey, check in here. And then from there, escalated to this. And, I did everything within my power to make sure that the powers that be, human resources, personnel, everyone had these credible threats in hand. Submitted the documents, whole 9 yards. And turned around, and it was like, no, hey, we hate to hear this, none of that. Like, hey, how are you and your family? None of that. It just disappeared. It went away. And it was just like it got set on a desk. And
these were threats that came in about you?
Correct, about me.
Tell me about the threats.
There was a Facebook post. And let me pull it up.
And while he's doing that, guys, if you want to text in this morning, we're not going to take any calls during this type of interview. But if you want to text into the Guns and Gear text line, that phone number is 769-241-1944. 769-241-1944. And I've got a picture here I'm trying to get loaded into my program. This is him receiving an award with the former mayor at City Hall. But go ahead and tell us about the...
And so... And context here is accountability. Accountability is huge in life, and it's huge in every aspect of everything we do. And there's a serious lack of that. And when one person wants to hold other people accountable, or you see things going on, and then you question it, like as to why does this happen? If people that are tardy are consistently late, not just 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I'm talking just years of it. The situation turns into, well, you want accountability, and then all of a sudden this narrative was born that I was a racist because I wanted accountability, and that's really what snowballed all of this, and we'll get into that. But
well, as I've learned doing this show, the white citizenry of Hinds County or Jackson is not allowed to demand accountability from the black leadership. That is racism, according to them. That is racism 101, as a matter of fact, is expecting accountability or expecting the same rules to be followed that have traditionally been followed. So, yes, that tracks.
Right. And so in this Facebook post, several comments were on there that were kind of alarming, but...
And when was this?
This was May 29th.
Of
this year.
This year.
Yeah,
okay.
This year. So it was this, and the new command staff came into office July 1st with the mayor, the transition team, the whole 9 yards. The chief was the first appointment, and then under him, he kind of had, his pick of, his subordinates, the assistant chief on down. And so with that transition, I was looking up something on Facebook and just happened to notice this post, and it was just screaming me. One of those things you just read and it's about you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I just knew. And then so I started reading into it, and then there was other people that were alluding to that it was me, but they misspelled my name. So you can't get on the Facebook and just search Clay Edwards. If you spelled it wrong, then you wouldn't know to look for that.
That's a trick inside the culture, is they spell the names wrong and they use aliases and this, that, and the other to protect themselves.
My name was incorrectly spelled, but the pronunciation was there.
Yeah.
And so if I would have searched that, I wouldn't have found it. So anyway, I started digging into it, and being me, the guy that I am, I commented and was like, whoa, come on now, seriously, guys? I mean, no. And
who made the post?
One of our firemen.
Okay.
That's fine. A current fireman with Jackson. So one of the guys got on there, and
what did the post say?
Let's see here. I don't understand how you work for a city that you can't stand. As a firefighter, yes, I see the good and the bad, and yes, I know my city is nowhere near perfect, but it's home. I love it. But if you get on here every day talking down about your job, which I'd never talk down about my job, and that's the thing, you can't defend yourself. It's just,
it's gaslighting.
And if you share a WLBT post, where, Jackson, for instance, has the highest murder rate in the world, consistently, not in the world,
America.
But in America, consistently. That is viewed as trash talking, or, it's so wild to see it unplayed, but it's the truth. And and if I share it, that makes me racist.
Well, welcome to the club.
So
facts are racist.
So, and it's and then so it's talking down, but if you get on here every day talking down about your job in the city, and, I'm a strong believer in, in the core of America, it's, it's a two-party system. Maybe we need a third party. Who knows? But right now, where we're at, just because, you're on the left side or right side, depending on what side of the political spectrum you're on, just because you don't like the current leadership or the administration in charge doesn't make you any less American. It just gives you more reason to get out and vote and change the outcome of the next election. You're still an American at heart. And so here, I love my job. I love the city, and I love the citizens. And so to turn around and, just because I don't like how certain things are done, we have tons, there was bukus of missing money. I mean, you saw the recent escapade with the previous administration and how it unfolded. I don't like that. When it comes to my salary and my paychecks, I don't want bad decisions made. So
where's the threat?
So the threat is they make this long post, and it's you're not going to be anywhere else, just pretty much leave. And then, so one guy says, all I need is 5 minutes. I'm assuming we're just going to go do jumping jacks for 5 minutes, read a short story for 5 minutes.
He wants 5 minutes with you to fight or whatever.
Right. So then, that was one of our firemen that commented into that. So then we had one of our now command staff members comment in there and was basically said that, I wouldn't even need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I need less.
Interesting. Hold that thought. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got Eric Newman, former Jackson fireman, airing his grievances on why he was fired from the Jackson Fire Department. They've accused him of being a racist, for expecting accountability, for defending himself, and for sharing factual information, such as news articles about Jackson. Again, new mayor, same soulless city. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Clay Edwards Show. Boom, we're back. That's new. I brought in something new. Boom, we're back. I haven't said that before. We're keeping it fresh here on the Clay Edwards Show. Breaking rules when necessary, right? We're live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi Studios. Again, text Clay. Get ready for war. Text Clay, 601-800-5130 for your free testosterone screening today. This segment brought to you by Guns and Gear. Man, swing by, see Hunter and the team. Talk about getting ready for war. You got to be physically ready. You got to be mentally ready. You got to have your spirituality ready. Do you have your ammo and gun collection ready? You probably don't. Is there ever really such thing as being all the way ready, Eric?
Never.
Can you have too many guns?
I don't think you can.
Can you have too much ammo?
You can't.
I don't think so. Get out to Guns and Gear. They're closed on Mondays, but Tuesday through Saturday, they are open right there, Highway 51 North in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. But, hey, you don't have to wait to see the inventory. You can jump online, gunsandgear.co. And it's guns in, not guns and, like guns in roses, gunsandgear.co. Check them out today. Don't forget, they can take care of all your Cerakoting and gunsmithing needs as well, and they don't have to send it to another store. They do it all there at Guns and Gear, done by Hunter, the owner himself. I mean, what's the odds? His name's Hunter, and he owns a gun store. He was born to do this. Swing by, check them out today. And don't forget, they also buy guns. So if you're in a pinch or just maybe you've inherited a collection that you don't really have any interest in, just need to shake it off, whatever the case may be. We're getting close to the holidays. Maybe you bought one too many guns this year, anticipating a different outcome in the election, and you wanted to be ready. I say hold on to them, but maybe your pocketbook says otherwise. Maybe your wife says otherwise. Swing by, see them today. Get ready for Christmas. Ladies, don't forget, men love guns. Men love things from Gun Store. They make great gifts for the upcoming holiday season.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind. Swing by, see Hunter and the team out there today, and they will know, or not today, but Tuesday through Saturday, and they'll help you pick out the perfect gun or gear for your husband. That's gunsandgear.co. Located right there at Yandell Road on Highway 51 North, at the corner of Yandell and 51. Ironically, if you pass the fire station going north, you went too far. All right, speaking of fire stations, we got Eric Newman in here. Eric's done relaxed a little bit. We just jumped straight in there, man. So I apologize for just dropping you right in the grease there in the first segment. But there's no easy way to do this.
No, man, that's not, and that's like with anything. You just got to hit the ground running. Overcome and adapt.
Look, that's how I've got to doing this. Is, man, people ask me all the time, like, man, how do you get started doing it? Well, I want to start a podcast. I want to do this. So just hit record.
Right.
Just hit play. Just hit go live. Whatever it is, you're gonna suck at first.
Right.
Everybody does. But you're never gonna get good if you don't suck at first.
Correct.
You just got to go. So, to the point. So, all right. Now that we've relaxed a little bit, we've kind of laid the groundwork. If you're just tuning in, we got Eric Newman, former Jackson fireman. We're 7 years.
7 years.
7 years, Jackson fireman. Eric started noticing some things and started making some, I don't know if complaints are the word, started reporting some things that he thought were out of the ordinary. And they decided to target him, and they have fired him under the new regime, nonetheless. But Eric, you and I have talked for a while, and if you don't want to answer this is fine. But this has not just been happening. I mean, you've been.
Yeah, there's a history of this.
I was going to say, I mean, this has been going on for quite a while.
I mean,
right?
whether it's my mustache, my mustache has been ruled offensive, and I mean, you look at any other fire department, probably in the state or across the nation, and they're going to have the big. The
firemen have the mustaches now. The white
Right.
firemen guys, have the mustache thing. It's like a running joke.
Right.
I don't mean that to be insulting.
Right.
But it's like a meme, really.
Correct.
I mean, like, we know that white firemen have the mustache.
Correct.
It's y'all shtick.
And so at some point in time, it got into be this big ordeal where it was like, hey, we're going to write you up. It's going to turn into a suspension, this, that, and the other. So it was just like threats and threats and threats, and then they would kind of back off, and then we'd have to cite the rules. To the point a few years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, it came down the pipe from the previous command staff that hey, you have to either put a line on your lip, like the line above your lip. And I was like,
they don't want any hair over the lip.
Yeah, well, the rule book stated one thing, and so I tried to within correct meet that, but the issue was they wanted a line, like there was the request for a line on my lip, and then just for me, and that's not my culture. I don't. You don't see, you just don't see that. So, just the mustache alone was just, a targeting thing. And there's a history of it. There's guys currently now being targeted. There's other guys that were targeted for their mustaches too.
So let me ask this. I mean, because you see this brought up a lot. You see like places will say like no dreadlocks.
Right.
Is there a policy about African American men having dreadlocks?
So no, not in the fire service. I mean, it depends on the city. So like if the city, like for Jackson's, for instance, they have the Crown Act, and I don't know if it's
familiar with it.
I'm not sure if it's the state backed or how it was, but it was
where you can't discriminate
right
over
based on your hair, and so that's one thing. And if the city allows that, then the fire service has to adapt to it. I mean, the fire chief and the command staff, they can take rules and they can add or take away as they please. They can change it on a whim. But in Jackson, we're civil servants, so there's an extra layer of protection there for guys like myself, or hopefully it's supposed to be there as like a fallback. So with the Facebook stuff, it was always every time I would post something or share something that you shared or share something WLBT, like the comments would just come in. It was like the cancel culture would jump into my comments, and it was no matter what the proof was. It could literally be a picture of a sign, and I would get arguments that somehow it would try to get made into a racial, circus in my comments. And of course, obviously, if I, incorrectly identified, a group or a person or anything wrong, that was going to be my job. I had to tread very carefully, and it's unfortunate because my post, which were factual based, did not instill hate or call to war or have people going and throwing rocks, bricks, and bottles through windows. That's not what happened. But you flip the script, and our guys will make Facebook posts, and then it is nuclear. It incites hate and fights, and and in the comments you'll get guys in there like, let's start shooting and hanging white MFing firemen. Like, just from one Facebook post, the comments from the public or friends of friends, whoever, it's not my business as to who comments on their stuff. You can't hold people back from that, but that's not my Facebook post.
Yeah.
So you report that, and it goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. So that was my original complaint with this new command staff.
So they can get away. They can say whatever, incite all the violence they want. And which, I mean, of course, I live this every day. So I get it. It's the Democrat double standard is what I've dubbed it. You can't post anything, and you're also responsible for anything that gets dropped in your comments, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But they're not.
Correct. And so that was the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway from all this was, and COVID was a very hard time.
And let me guess. If you don't like it, you can quit.
Yeah. So that was, or I can go to another state, or my favorite was I can go back to whatever MF and Timbuktu town I came from. Imagine, just for a second, if I said that, I would be on CNN like first thing tomorrow. By the time I left this office, boom, CNN.
Ben Crump would be skydiving out of a plane to make sure he landed on the target to be coming after your ass.
Right. So and so there's this double standard, and I can stomach a lot of things. We're both guys, and we're both men here, and I can stomach a lot of things. I mean, the good thing about Jackson, and I love that job. I mean, something about when you watch the sun come up from the bumper of a fire truck, the earth comes to life. And I mean, it's just, you've been out there working at a house fire, just doing what you love, with a good group of guys, and that when that uniform's on, that, it's just, we're all together. And so to see that taken away, it just sucks. And it's not like it's, the whole fire department hates me. No, it's a very select group of individuals.
It's the leadership and their stooges.
So, right. So what happened is I reported this Facebook post, and let's go back to COVID. So COVID is where it really started. I started seeing inconsistencies from what used to be our union president, who is now our fire chief. And there's a consistency. There's a history of that, a transition almost.
Hold that thought. We ran over that first segment, and we've run over now. We got to catch back up.
All right,
let's pick up at COVID.
Got it.
We got Eric NEWMAN, former Jackson fireman, who believes he was wrongly relieved of his duties, and of course, I 100% agree with him. We're continuing to unpack, expose, and discuss here this morning on the Clay Edwards Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 4 minutes. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. Real quick, the segment brought to you by Lakeland Glass and Tint. Swing by, see the guys today for all of your home, car, or business window tinting needs, all of your automobile windshield or glass repair and replacement needs. And, of course, they're doing ceramic coating using Expel, one of the top ceramic coating products in the world. Expel has some of the top, if not the top, vehicle protection products in the world, from window tint to vehicle paint protection film to wraps, and of course ceramic coating, and of course cleaning supplies. And Lakeland Glass and Tint has been selected, I believe, 3 years in a row, definitely 2. But I think 3 years in a row they've been their supplier of the year, their installer of the year. That's right, little Flowwood, Mississippi's very own Lakeland Glass and Tint. Big, huge international conglomerate like Expel, they've been selected their installer of the year. That tells you about the attention to detail at Lakeland Glass and Tint that Jason Anderson and his team put forth on every vehicle they touch. So if they can be good enough to win that, they are good enough to put the window tint on your Nissan Altima. Swing by, see them today. But you can start online at lakelandglassandtint.com and get your free quote today. And stuff on like your your ceramic coatings, unless it's a brand new vehicle, you really want to swing by there and let them see it in person, set some realistic expectations, discuss pricing, because every job ain't the same. Prep work, it's all about the prep work on those ceramic coating jobs. And if you got a 10-year-old car that's been through 10 Mississippi summers and 10 Mississippi winters, it's going to cost a little bit more than if you just drove that thing right off the showroom. Let's just be honest here. So swing by, see them today, and your ceramic coatings are done at the Flowwood Drive location right across from the emergency room there at River Oaks. So swing by, see them today, or check them out online, lakelandglassandtint.com. Eric Newman, let's pick back up at COVID, my friend.
All right, so COVID was a big time. The whole, just the nation and the world was just crazy. Well, during this time, we had a different presidential regime, going through from 2020 to 2024. Mm-hmm. And so nothing made sense then. And, with that being said, at that point, sharing anything on Facebook, the cancel culture hit hard. And it hit hard. So it was like constantly. So I got labeled as a Proud Boy in sometime in around the 2020 mark. And, just sharing, I would see it. I would totally accept responsibility if it was just some off the wall rhetoric, but it's not. So it's just, so anyway, about that time, our union lost an important clause of its union contract. It was the pay parity, and it was Article 9, and it states what PD gets, FD gets. And I noticed that, and I was like, why did that go away? Now,
yeah, well, what he's saying here, for those that didn't catch that, the Jackson Police Department, anytime they'd get a raise, anytime the police department would get a raise, fire department had to get the same raise.
Right. And so I noticed it, and I was like, man, what happened here? So then I did a public information request and then found that it got mooted at a city council meeting. I'm like, why would we take the single most important document out? Even though our contract was our contract was expired. And it was hard to get a new contract signed, this, that, and the other. That's what we were told. But even then, as a businessman, I'm like, if you were told you're going to get your new contract signed, but you had to take out a portion of the old contract, wouldn't you just swap contracts and sign on 3? I sign, you sign? That makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. But that's not what happened. We got backdoored. The pay parity left. PD kept just climbing on up with raises.
And you believe that the union chief, the union boss at the time, sold y'all out?
I would say that there was a hand in it.
And he's the chief now.
Right. So with that being said, I started bringing light to this. And then it turned into like, I was the Joker to the Batman. Like the more and more I would press the issue and show people the docket number and the minute number.
What year was that?
That was 2020.
That was 2020 when that happened.
September 18th or September 12th is when it happened. Because
I know that a lot of local police departments, a lot of things have changed locally since with police departments since the founding of the Capitol Police and what they're paying, and local police departments would have to pay more to keep their guys and to be able to recruit against Capitol Police. And I know that a lot of fire pay has kind of been left behind on this some because they just can't pay everybody everything.
Right.
So but that didn't start till like 22.
Historically, though, when it comes to larger departments, fire departments, and specifically, typically what you want with those fire departments is to pay just some astronomical amount. You want to be 20, 30,000 over your smaller departments. Because why? Because you're the biggest. You need more. You need your numbers. You need more people coming through the door. So it make the other small cities compete with you.
Well, and if you're having to go fight 10 fires a week, you should be compensated for having to put your life at risk that much more versus a small department where you may have one big fire a month.
Or a year or two. It's crazy to see. And like I said, the job's not about the money. But to see these other cities surpass us, somewhere you're just like, man, where do you draw the line in the sand and say, hey, look, get these guys more money because our numbers are down? I mean, I think it's, we went from like a department of 400 now to like 200. We're not even critically staffed. According to the rule book, we're barely critically staffed. So anyway, the union president gets in, moots that, and then I started hammering it, man. I was like, hey, this is the proof here. Like, this is the paperwork. This is from city council. This is legit. And then around that time, it became, I was gaining traction. I was turning people away, and people started to realize, hey, what he's talking about is right, and he's got the receipts to it. And then this narrative was born. Man, this guy is a racist. Don't listen to him. He's a racist. Don't listen to him. He's a racist. And so it was easier to play push me under the bus there and just say, hey, he's racist. Don't listen to him whenever, I'm showing you proof. Like, it's factual. And so we move forward. We get out of COVID, and that was the narrative. It was born. I was this Proud Boy racist. And, we get into where we're at now on Facebook posts, and that was, like I said, that's where I reported the illegal Facebook post. And
I got to say, I bit my tongue long enough. I got to say, the Proud Boy thing. The Proud Boys weren't racist.
No, they weren't.
The Proud Boys were not. That was a birth of the media needing a boogeyman during January 6th, and there's Antifa. Y'all going to talk about Antifa? Well, the Proud Boys are racist,
right?
Yeah, but the Proud Boys ain't burned anything down. The Proud Boys ain't hurt nobody, ain't broke nothing, ain't did anything. And I'm not saying I don't support any of these groups, but we're going to be based in factual reality here. There's only one boogie. Actually, there were two boogeymans. You had BLM and Antifa. Then you had the Proud Boys are violent racists, the Oath Keepers, all this. So they had to find some right wing boogeymen to offset the factual boogeymen that were BLM and Antifa. Sorry, look, let's take our break. We got 3 hours this morning, guys. I've got him for at least the next hour, so we're gonna have plenty of time to air this all out. We got to take our commercial breaks and pay the bills, though. The system doesn't allow me to skip them, so we got Eric Newman in here. We're gonna pick back up at this pay parity thing, and them trying to sell to the guys on the force that don't listen to him. He's a racist because he wants them all to be able to get paid more money. Again, it never makes sense. But all they got to do is tell a lot of the guys, oh, but it's racist. Oh, well, I can't argue that guy. Guys, my boss man said it was racist, so it's racist, and that's where my problem comes in. That's why they call me a racist, because I question why everything is racist that isn't racist. So, of course, that's racist. We'll be right back with Eric Newman. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We've got about a minute here, so we're just going to pause Eric to the 8:07 when we come back. But, guys, look, you're looking for somewhere to eat lunch today. Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, 3 great locations to serve you. Or, hell, you're hungry this morning, need some breakfast? Swing by the Madison location right out there. They got their breakfast bowls. They've got all kind of great options. Or just get you a Southern Fried Chicken biscuit. You can't go wrong with any of it. Then go back by today. See them for lunch. At all 3 great locations, Madison, Flowood at Dogwood, or downtown Brandon, Mississippi, and get one of their great blue plates. They got that red beans and rice with country pleasing sausage. They've got hamburger steak and gravy and an alternating meat every day. Check them out, burgersblues.com. Welcome back in to hour 2 of the Clay Edwards Show. It's hour 2 of 3 today. Welcome back in. We're live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on X, YouTube, and Rumble. Except on Rumble, you search Clay Edwards Show. YouTube and X at Save JXN. We're in stunning HD. We're pumping all across the airwaves here in Central Mississippi on 103.9 FM, WYAB. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Mazda of Jackson. Swing by Mazda of Jackson today. Check out the all-new CX-90 and other great vehicles they got there on the lot. Did you know that all new Mazdas from Mazda of Jackson exclusively come with a lifetime powertrain warranty? Man, you can't beat that. They have rates generally starting at around 0.9% on new vehicles with approved credit, of course. But, hey, you can't beat that at all. That's basically like 0%. They're basically giving you money to borrow to loan you money. At this point, as high as rates have been, they are coming down a little bit, but neither here nor there. You can usually get something for around 0.9% and up there at Mazda of Jackson through Mazda Motor Credit or whatever they call it. And don't forget also, first year of maintenance is on the house. That's right. Your oil changes, tire rotations, all that good stuff, no charge at Mazda of Jackson for the first year on new Mazdas. Hey, look, they got pre-owned vehicles too with great financing options as well through Mazda Motor Credit. So swing by, check them out today. Check them out online, MazdaofJackson.com, located right there at Briarwood Drive on 55. You know where it is, right over there by Cowboy Maloney and all that good stuff. Swing by, see them today. Good folks, proud sponsor of the Mazda of Jackson phone line. We're not taking calls today, but we'll say that this interview is brought to you by Mazda of Jackson. If you want to text in, you got any comments or questions for our guest, Eric Newman, as he airs his grievances out here and kind of exposes some of the corruption and stuff. And yeah, we are getting to the corruption side of this. It isn't just him airing his grievances. There's some corruption, in my opinion, in his opinion, that you're going to get to hear about here in this upcoming hour that's going to blow your mind. I hope Kingfish is listening this morning because this is going to be right in his wheelhouse to dig into this and uncover this. And hopefully Kingfish is listening this morning. I didn't mean to put him on blast there because that's not what I'm doing here. But as I hear these stories during the breaks here, I'm just like, oh my, they got how much? How much money are they making on the clock? Off the clock? Your mind's going to be blown when we get to it. That's called a tease. But we got Eric Newman here, former Jackson fireman. You'll be able to go back and listen to this whole interview on the podcast or wherever, one of the video streaming platforms as soon as it's over. So if you missed anything, go back and listen. All right, Eric, we talked about COVID, talked about some of the crazy stuff. We talked about, I'm trying to pick up where we left off here. We talked about the equal pay for firemen and police. Pick up wherever you're comfortable at.
Right. So, at that point, the narrative was born. I'm a proud boy now. I'm the Batman. I'm the Joker to the Batman, and I'm the bad guy now. So, throughout
because you have the audacity to call out them screwing y'all's pay.
Right. So I would go to a union meeting.
Now, are you just defending white people's pay, or are you also defending black firemen's pay?
Dude, the whole fire department, man.
The whole fire
department, man. That's paid for by the citizens we serve and protect. And so, I started attending union meetings because I'm trying to figure out what is going on. So then it would just be so wild. The union president at the time would just be like, let's see what Mr. Smarty Pants has to say. I mean, just wild stuff. Who says that to a grown man? It's so minor and it's so minuscule, but it builds. It snowballs on top of that.
Well, they're trying to hurt your credibility.
Right. So what I would do is text in to the union chat line, and just give logical recommendations. Let's not take a turd in a box to the meeting. Let's put some gold in there and present that. So fast forward, I would text that union chat line, and then the union president would text me personally, and it would just be off the wall. I mean, it would just be you're uneducated and bitter and lost and just really offensive to me. If I said any of that, I would be terminated. Well, I am now, but so there was the fight was on then, and so it was how do I how do I gain traction here and defend myself? So the regime change happens. And throughout all this time, like, you know, if I'm at a station, you know, I would get transferred. I've been transferred more than any Jackson fireman, like probably to date. You know, I was transferred 5 times alone just this year. I was out on injury for a while. And, you know, I had to have knee surgery, you know, line of duty injury. And so I came back in April. And since April of 2025 till, you know, prior to all of this starting, I was transferred 5 times. Like, it's crazy. And so
what were their excuses for transferring you?
So there was never any. So like sometimes it would just be it's because we can, or they would say, and you can get by with that. Like you can sit. There's power in that. You can say we need your talents, we need your qualifications, your expertise elsewhere. But everybody's sitting here looking at it, going, okay, you took me from like one of the busiest apparatuses in the state of Mississippi. Call volume alone is just crazy. And you put me at this one over here.
Well, which one is the busy?
Like, so you've got like Rescue 14 is a very hot station. Shout out to Station 12. I mean, they are like go getters. It's nonstop fires, calls, shootings, everything.
Tell people what area these are.
South Jackson.
Okay.
And so Station 7 is kind of like a hybrid too. You know, they're off north side there in the Meadowbrook north side area, but they can run back toward Medgar Evers. So they're a pretty hot station. They're a hot house too. And Station 20. And so, you know, we're incredibly busy, and so they would just move me for no reason. And I'm like, man, so then it's like, hey, we won't do that again or whatever. And then it's just like, we'll put you back over there. And then you ask any Jackson fireman, where do I want to be? They're going to tell you Rescue 14, hands down. And, or, you know, Engine 12. I want to be where the action is. So, and then, but the blatant, like you can see when it's like blatant, it's because it would be different if they didn't replace me, you know? Like, but when they replace you by a lesser qualified candidate, now you have to ask yourself, why did that move happen? Why would you put someone who just started the job on this busy apparatus? Where, you know, so that's the trend with me. And it would usually be reporting like, hey, man, this guy's late all the time.
And this is an old tool that they'll use to try to get somebody to quit.
They
try to break you. And
right.
I mean, and sometimes, look, I've seen it happen with, you know, people that need to go away.
Right.
You know, highway patrol troopers, for example, that like to show their butts, and I've seen them get, you know, deported to the Delta,
right,
and places like that, you know, get transferred, and they just eventually quit because they can't move there,
right. And so, and 20, you know, 25 is our slow station. It's like a retirement station. You know, you can end up there and you're just watching paint dry, and so
work out,
and you can do that, I guess, and so these transfers started happening. I've got a history of transfers, just boom, boom, boom. And so it's like it's easier to transfer the guy who wants accountability and then plug someone in who's not going to complain.
Not going to rock the boat.
Yeah. Oh, listen, man, if you could, just tone it down a little bit. No, come on. Like, when they're late, I'm late, you know, and there's a history of it. So the transfer started happening, and then, you know, bringing into this year the regime change. So my original complaint to the city council and the powers that be within the city of Jackson was the text messages from the union president, which is now fire chief, and the Facebook death threats. So take all that, get it to them, get it to the powers that be, and it just disappears. Nothing else is done. And there's a lot of protocols in the city when it comes to harassment. Like, if you report harassment, like, employees are supposed to get dismissed up to dismissal if you look at the rule book. And none of that ever happened. Like, no one called me and said, hey, man, we're working on it. So I started filing grievances with the city. Like, hey, I reported this, so here's my grievance. You know, instilling the fact that I still have heard nothing. You know, like, what's going on here? So, with all that being said, as this started happening, I started to see the fight back in my court. So, like, the command staff came at me because I have nothing in my folder, my personnel file. Like, there's no rule breaks. It was a stretch to say I broke chain of command to talk to city council. But city council and, you know, the chief of staff of the city of Jackson, even the mayor himself, or anybody really, they're not in my chain of command. And even if they were, you can still supersede that when a superior officer or anything like that is a complaint of harm or illicit activities.
You a citizen of Jackson?
No,
Okay.
I'm not. Grew up working in Jackson, service in Jackson.
I was just asking just because I was going to say if you were a voting citizen, you're allowed to talk to the council, as a citizen. Yeah,
Right.
But okay.
And so, even the First Amendment rights protect you, man, there, and whistleblower acts, all of that, there's policies in place to protect stuff like that. So, then the fight was on then. So there was a stretch of a rule break, and then the commands, the command staff literally broke chain of command to write me my breach of chain of command. It was broken to write me that write-up. And then what's even crazy...
So who wrote it?
The division chief.
Who was supposed to write it?
So that part was correct. So it comes from the fire chief down to the assistant chief, down to the division chiefs or deputy chiefs to the division chiefs, which ends up to the district chief. And then the district chief can, either counsel you, but the captain can give it to you. And it would be witnessed by a district chief, or the district chief will give it to you witnessed by a captain, But we skipped the whole middle there, and we just went from the division chief to me. So that in itself was a breach. And so, but the kicker here is, I get it, I'm bad with names, but when I've given you 7 years of service, the name on the paperwork wasn't even spelled correctly. It wasn't even me on the paperwork. So I was like, who is this guy? And they were like, what's your full legal name? And I'm like, no. You can't, 7 years. At least go to the computer and look at what my name is in the personnel file before you write my name on some paperwork.
Yeah.
And so
what did they put on there?
Eric J. Newman. It's backwards, but there was no respect for me to get my name correct, which would have been John E. Newman. So now there's something in my file. There's a paper trail, and they're getting me by the balls.
All right, well, let's stop right there. It seems like a good stopping point. Anytime you get somebody by the balls, this is always a good stopping point. Let's take our break. We got Eric Newman in here exposing corruption at JFD, that's Jackson Fire Department. Yes, we are working our way to the corruption part of this. Y'all buckle up. It's going to blow your minds, and I'm not being hyperbolic at all. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 4 minutes live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. Hey, look, don't forget, you're hungry, swing by McBee's today for lunch. Right there on Lake Harbor Drive. The blue plate special of the day is my personal favorite as far as their blue plates go. It's the chicken spaghetti. And there's so much chicken in it that they even put it on top of it. You can't beat it. Swing by, check it out today. You get the chicken spaghetti and 2 veggies and your choice of bread. Try their Mexican cornbread. I'm a roll guy, but their Mexican cornbread is really, really good at McBee's. And look, the red beans and rice with sausage. They use that country pleasing also. You can't go wrong with country pleasing. Check it out, McBee's, right there, Lake Harbor, buzzing the Riz since 1982. We'll be right back with Eric Newman here on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show as I reach across the studio to hit the buttons I need to hit to go back live. We're here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. This segment brought to you by our friends right down below us at Shelter Insurance Agency. That is Jamie Creel and his team. They got an office right here at the Cotton Exchange Plaza in Flora, Mississippi, and in Ridgeland, right next to Fleet Feet, there in that shopping center. Swing by, see him today. Let him or one of his great agents write you or run you a policy. See if they can save you any money. See if they can get you a better policy. Look, they got you covered on home, car, life, health. If you can insure it, they can insure it. Get in touch with them today, right there at Shelter Insurance Agency. Just Google Jamie Creel Shelter Insurance Agent, and they'll get you taken care of. See if they can't save you some dough. And look, if nothing else, you need a good local insurance agent. If you're using one of these national websites for your insurance, you are missing out on customer service and no extra money. And probably save you money. And you have the customer service of being able to pick up the phone and call your insurance agent. How many times have you had to call one of them 800 numbers and be on hold and talk to somebody in Pakistan or wherever else about an insurance claim because you thought you were saving some money? No. Stop all that nonsense. You'll have Jamie Creel's phone number. You can text me any time of the dang day. I said it. I'll fight Jamie about it later for telling you that. I'm kidding. But for real, if you don't have a local insurance agent, get you one and start with Jamie Creel. If you do have a local insurance agent, hold them accountable by shopping your rate and it's making sure that they aren't taking advantage of you. Jamie Creel Shelter Insurance Agency. All right, man. We've got Eric Newman here in the studio. Eric, pick up where you left off.
All right. So, now,
grab you by the balls.
They've got there's a paper trail now. It's a loose rule break, but it's a rule break nonetheless. And like I said, it'd be semantics, chain of command and all that. So now moving forward, I'll start getting documents from the city. And people are starting to, get documents my way. And so I start filing grievances. This is all in July. We're progressing in. So I got to write up. And then we had to attend a command staff meeting. And so it was basically meet the chiefs, meet the new command staff. So we had to go over to Station 7. And, I was advised, hey, I don't want to go in there because they said they were going to harm me. And so I just politely tried to decline going into the meeting. Because
they were going to harm you?
I had the threats out there. And the people who made the threats were in that room. Were also on my command staff. So I was like, hey, look, I don't want to go in there just for safety reasons. So they were like, look, you got to go in there or else. So it was like, now it's like a 10 because it's mandatory or else we're going to suspend you or worse. So, okay. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll go. But I don't feel comfortable going in there. Like, again, I'm, as an employee, saying that those guys, or the people in that room, have threatened me.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, if you circle back to the beginning of the show, you talked about a Facebook post that named him, although they spelled it wrong, but they named him nonetheless in that post, and there were some threats made in the comments of that post by then subordinates, now command, that physically threatened him, talking about, I just need 5 minutes with him. It will take me less than 5 minutes. And now these guys are his command staff.
Right. So, everything's just falling on deaf ears at this point. So, I was like, look, I'll attend that meeting, but I'm going to put on my standard issue that's given. It's on every fire truck. I'm going to wear my bulletproof vest. I'll even put it under my shirt. I'll tuck my shirt in, be professional, cordial. I attended, and they agreed. Hey, that's okay. Put your vest on, get in here. So I did. I stood by the back door, didn't make a scene, didn't talk to anybody. And then as soon as the meeting was over, like clearly as soon as it was over, took my vest off, put it back on the fire truck, and that was that. And then we had to go down to arson, the internal affairs. Our arson handles, the internal affairs. And, they wanted to know, arson wanted to know, like, what was going on. Like, where did these death threats come from? And then at that point, I found out that they were not on the same page. Like, they had no idea about any of the death threats or any of my complaints thus far. We're sitting in, we're beginning of August now, August 2025.
And it started in May.
It started in May. And my complaints have been registered in July. And so at this point, I'm like,
so command had not been following procedure as they should and forwarding it.
It should have gone to the Human Resources Department, and then it also should have gone to Internal Affairs. So at this point, I know that no one's on the same page. And so now I'm raising the question as, well, where is my paperwork? And so I even told them, I was like, look, they asked to do an interview, not an interview, but an investigation. And I said, look, I would prefer if I had all the paperwork that I've submitted so that way I can make sure I talk about everything in the interview. Anything you need to ask, further in detail, I'll give it to you. That way you can just say, hey, look, what about this line point right here? And I can elaborate. So there was some legality issues there. I wanted to be able to record. I couldn't record. And that's standard procedure. But, I was just pretty much told, hey, look, we'll get back with you and let you know. So I just assumed that we would reschedule either a later date, whatnot, never heard back. And so then I got put on administrative leave after that. So I show up at the fire station. There's, we got an officer there. And I'm like, what's going on? There's black Tahoes around back of the station. This is on the August 11th, I believe, August 11th. And so I get there, and, the officers are there for me, go inside the station. I get placed on administrative leave. And I'm like, what's going on? Why am I on administrative leave? And they, explain it to me. that it's for violating a direct order from the fire chief, and that was not cooperating with the arson investigation. Which there again, there was some legality issues, so we're kind of like, what's going on? Like, I was looking for a reschedule or more information before we dove into that. So I get placed on administrative leave, and we move forward, and following that, I guess the decision was made to terminate me. So they issued my pre-termination paperwork, and during that time, they called out my address over the public airwaves. Now, they can argue and say it was standard operating procedure, this, that, and the other, but, usually it's a phone call. You can just call the dispatch center on your cell phone and say, hey, I'm going to be going to here. But they gave my home address over the radio, like the public airwaves. So I started getting calls, text messages, hey, they just gave your address over the radio. And so, I filed a grievance on that.
Why would they give your address out? What was this for? So
arson or internal affairs, they're not only firemen, they're also officers, detectives. So they have a firearm on them, and I guess it's to pin their location, to let, dispatch know. So
they were hand delivering your termination papers to your house, and they were saying they're on the way there?
Pre-termination paperwork. Okay. And so, like I said, it's it's a loose rule, but, like, it was enforced. Like, it was used openly. Like, they could have, there's other ways. And plus, too, it's termination paperwork. So there was no discretion when it came to me.
So, yeah, they were telling everybody they were on the way to fire you.
It was like, hey, we got them.
Made a public announcement.
But they didn't say, we're dropping off paperwork. They just gave my address, and everybody kind of put two and two together because the wound was still fresh.
If you know, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, and then I filed a grievance on that. And then all of a sudden, a couple more weeks go by. And then September 7th, earlier this month, a transfer list came out, and it's got my name in all bold, and it says terminated, like in all bold, terminated. And it's like, hey, we finally got them.
Yeah.
And but if you go back at years and years and years of transfers, there's not one. They usually just, if someone's terminated or quits or whatever, whatever the situation, they either retire.
The name's just off the list.
They either retire or they resign. And like if they're terminated, they just put resigned beside their name, or they just don't put it on there anyway.
Yeah.
So, but it was in bold, so it was like clear as day. Hey,
a trophy.
So, filed a grievance on that. Did all my protocol. Filed it with the human resources. Just kept hammering the paperwork. Well, then we started noticing the time cards of the now command staff, and they're salaried employees, and so we start to see inconsistencies.
Hold that thought. Right. Let's hit our break because I want to get this in. This is the corruption that I'm telling y'all about. Alleged corruption. This is where Shad White needs to be involved. This is where every taxpayer in Hinds County, Jackson, wherever, needs to be very, very concerned. This is going to be the part. This next segment is going to be the part that catches City Hall on a fire, so to say. Not literally. What's the other verb? What was it? Not literally. Figuratively catches City Hall on fire. We'll be right back. Welcome to Jackson, John Horn. You wanted it. You got it. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This segment brought to you by Ellis Autoplex. Guys, get your week started off if you're in the market for a vehicle. I shared a truck last night on my Facebook page from Ellis Autoplex. A black, I think it's 2018 F-150. It's jacked up a little bit. Got some big wheels and tires on it. Just fine. I didn't see the mileage on it. $30,000. It's four-door, four-wheel drive, F-150, 2018. And even if it's got 200,000 miles on it, I don't know that 30 grand's a bad price. You go look at this thing, it is fine. I'm not sure the trim level or whatnot, but anyway, check it out, ellisautoplex.com. Go to their Facebook page, just search Ellis Autoplex, easy to find. And you can see they post, literally, Casey does such a great job. Just like the website is going to have every picture that's posted, every picture you could possibly want to see. they put that on the Facebook page with the full description and everything. They do a better job with their inventory on Facebook than any other dealership I've seen, and it's all posted by the owner. It's not pushed over to it from some third-party site. It's all loaded directly to Facebook, so it's in the best detail available. But look, check that out. They specialize in pre-owned four-door, four-wheel drive trucks, but they got cars and SUVs too, and they got other brands other than F-150 or Ford. So swing by, check them out today. Located right there in Flowood on Highway 471. And as you know, they buy cars too. So if you're in the market to sell your car, whether you're buying one from them or not, swing by, let them put a number on it, make you an offer on it. And it'll be a good local check. You can go cash that check today. You ain't got to wait. You ain't got to do none of that nonsense. If you still owe money on the vehicle, they can still buy your vehicle. They'll work it out with the bank, get the title and all that. No big deal. That ain't going to stop you from getting your money. That's Ellis Autoplex. Shop them online, ellisautoplex.com. All right, Eric Newman here in the studio this morning. All right, Eric, here's the meat and potatoes of this thing. Here's the thing where you may have to be the one wearing a bulletproof vest I may have to wear one. Well, I should already be wearing one. But we may have to wear bulletproof vests after this. Tell people about this time card stuff, man. Some of these guys going from 80 hours a week to 230 hours a week on the clock.
So there was, with this, there's 80 hours salaried employees every 2 weeks. So like now we're starting to see, I don't have all the time cards. I don't know. I don't have access to a lot of that stuff. That'll be something for the city to dig into and really find these inconsistencies. But of the ones that have been seen, 96, 120, 144, as high as 180. And it's the pay class, the pay code is, it's weird. It's kind of being used. I'm not going to say it's being used incorrectly. Like I said, at this point, all I can do is bring light to the extra hours, which I don't know if that's being paid in overtime. I don't know if that's being paid in comp time. I don't know how the city's paying it. But what we do know is that they're 80 hours salaried employees. And, we've heard arguments well, they were the command staff, the now command staff. They're under a new pay code, or supposed to be under a new pay code, receiving, different pay. And they're supposed to be salaried, but they have some of the pay code or something hasn't been done. I don't want to speculate. But there's been different excuses given. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing is overpayments in hours. So I don't know if they're being compensated for or what, or why these inconsistencies are happening. So, and that's an alarming thing. And so we've got that. And so I filed a grievance. I filed a grievance on this. And this was September 9th that I filed the grievance with the city. And hey, look, these inconsistencies of time cards are just, I don't know what's going on here. It needs to look into this. And and then September 11th, I was terminated. And I don't know. At this point, it's just But
they're showing it's an 80-hour base, and you're showing some of these time cards. We're getting up to showing 230 hours.
The highest one we have is 144 and 180, and so everything outside of that, the city's going to have to find. So, they're going to have to go through and look at it. I can't,
and I don't want to mention names. But so how would you have seen these other people's time cards?
Just people within the city, sending it over to me.
Okay. So.
Just leaks.
Okay.
Leaks in the city. So like I said, it's just, it's an alarming thing because, that's going to bring, it's all around, it's not a good thing, and so there's a lot of inconsistencies there, and the city's going to have to go through and dig through it, look at time cards.
So these are salary positions,
right?
But you can get overtime.
You can't get overtime. You can't.
Okay.
But to my understanding, and like I said, I don't know how this is handled, so I don't want to speculate. But I know some cities have a practice of they'll pay if you work more, they'll pay you in comp time, which is hours off, this, that, and the other, so that you can use it as, freely for your time bank. And, So there's that overpayment there in hours or time, however it's coming down the pipe. And so with that being said, and then some of our guys on the command staff have, like, had other people work for them, like, for a monetary amount. And it's different. Like, it happens, like 1-2 shifts here. It's not, it is what it is. But, like, when it's 76 shifts, we only work 110 shifts in a year. We only work 110 shifts out of the year, and you've got 76, like, paid-for shifts where you weren't physically there, but someone else was working there, and you still received that salary. And then that person gets brought into the command staff that worked those shifts for you. I mean, it's just, it stinks, but, there's nothing that we can do, here other than just shed light on it. And, leave it up to the powers that be to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and just see what's going on. And like I said, and then, like, apparently it was listed that when I put on my bulletproof vest, I donned my bulletproof vest, which is standard issue, by me wearing the bulletproof vest so I could feel comfortable and for my safety, me in the bulletproof vest was cited that I created a hostile work environment and made others feel unsafe.
Yeah. So
it's like, but the whole thing here is like, all of this could have been mitigated from the get-go had we just sat down and, just had a, not even a debate, just sat down and addressed my original complaint and just handled the complaint from the door and just said, hey, look, we'll talk this out. What can we do to mitigate this? And, if there's let bygones be bygones, start over with a new leaf, but that's not, that wasn't the action plan. It was, let's hide this, or I say hide it. It failed to go any further. And everybody that needed to be on the same page, nobody was on the same page. And so I'm like, well, why am I even filing these grievances? Like, why fight this so hard? Because we knew it was coming. And you could see it on the horizon that it was going to trickle down the pipeline this way. And It did. And so we're here now. And
what do you hope to come out of this?
Accountability. That's it.
Now, that's the word that they're allergic to in Jackson.
So
that's kryptonite.
So just the double standard to go away. I mean, it's America, it's 2025, just moving forward. All of this could have been mitigated. And, it could have been mitigated with a simple conversation or, a disciplinary action, whatever it could have been done. But the genie's out of the lamp now. You can't put the genie back. Pandora's box is opened. And
the paste is out of the tube.
So it's just like, cut ties and move on, and but the double standard exists. And, there'll be flack on both sides of this. There's always going to be blowback. And it's unfortunate to see that there's a lot of people who have opinions, but are scared because they'll get transferred or terminated, this, that, and the other. And it's, I just want to see it being just accountability. That's it. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is your next step? Are y'all taking them to court? What are we doing?
So that's the plan. Just to, one, get the termination going, if possible. But, just kind of
you say get the termination going?
Yeah, so it shows that I'm terminated.
Yeah, so you say you resigned, or
just to show that, not even that, but like I was wrongfully, in my opinion, I feel like I was wrongfully terminated.
Well, from all accounts, you were a good fireman, a great fireman. You did your job. You showed up, and they're firing you at minimum over a technicality because they wanted you gone. But in reality, they're firing you because you're a disinfectant and you're shining light onto corruption.
Essentially, yes. And I get it.
And racism. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's racism, not on you, against you, not the direction they're claiming. I don't know how one white fireman could be a racist towards an entire black fire department. Is just asinine to me. I mean, what are you doing? Even if you were a racist, what control do you have for that racism to dictate anything that goes on at that fire department? It doesn't. You're again. I don't support anybody being a racist, but if you were, you wouldn't have any control. You're not in power. You have no say so in what's going on. You just show up, do your job, mind your business, and go on about your business. But your business is your business, and you're allowed to make sure your business is handled.
Right.
And they don't want you handling your business because then other people may want to handle theirs that realize they're getting the short end of the stick. They want to be able to go over there and continue to, in my opinion, continue to run that thing with no accountability. It's just the HR hustle is what it is. You see it in the police department. You see it in all city government, all state government. There's a particular group of people, they get in these jobs to just work the HR hustle. And that just seems to be what they're doing. They're just kind of working the hustle. I thought being a fireman, being a cop, being a nurse, being things like this is supposed to be a calling. It's not supposed to be about the money. But people get in there, and I'm not saying you don't need to make your money. I 100% think you need to make your money if you're good at your job. Don't get it twisted here. But to be over there and to have this done to you just seems really, really wrong. And why would any good firemen that are looking at with options want to go there? If you're talking about like new recruits, I'm sure there's some great firemen over there. I'm not knocking. I know a few, and I'm not saying there ain't great firemen there. But if you're sitting back and other guys that are sitting here listening to this interview, because this interview is going to live forever on the internet, people go back and listen to this like, why would I want to go work in Jackson?
Right, and there's a stigma about the city outside from other, just from the outside looking in, and I get that, and that's the one thing that would be excellent to curb that stigma. But a lot of it is brought on itself. And so it's, whether it be, the recruiting aspects or like, the mainstream, we've had several firemen in the mainstream news over this past year alone. And, that's a stigma that's hard to break. And, that's the best job I ever had. And, I would preferably, if there was any way we could have mitigated this and not have to end up here, that would have been great. That would have been great. Like I said, it's best job. I've got some of the best friends I've made through this department. Yeah. And, and it just now it's just like to see, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's a stretch to look at the paperwork or their evidence versus mine. It's a stretch, but it's stuck. It's stuck and they rolled through with it. And, we're here now.
All right. Guys, we'll come back, land the plane with Eric, and I got another hour to go myself, and I'm going to touch off into all the stuff going on in the news and whatnot. Eric, we'll come back, land the plane. We'll be right back. Y'all don't go anywhere.